In this video, I'm going to continue my explanation of the parenting wheel. In the West, we have the fist father and the tooth mother. The West stands for the physical world. The fist father doesn't know how to use his words to get what he wants, so he uses his fists. Sometimes it may seem that no matter what the child does, it'll bring the wrath of this cruel dictator. They often become violent after drinking, but there are other fathers who need no such motivation. They're just naturally violent. Any little thing could set them off, and it may have absolutely nothing to do with the behavior of the child. They could have had a bad day. They may be feeling particularly powerless, or they may just decide to blow off some steam for no apparent reason. They're often unpredictable. The tooth mother is very similar. She uses her words like knives to cut deep into your soul. She has the uncanny ability to find the most vulnerable subject and pounce on it like a tiger attacking with full force. When things aren't going right at work, her relationships, or with her finances, she's quick to jump right down the throat of her unsuspecting children. They don't fight back like adults do. They're usually right there and make a good target for her anger. Kids are naturally going to make mistakes. They're children. They're learning. They're human. They aren't perfect. These kinds of caregivers get all bent out of shape over the least perceived imperfection from their child or themselves. Regardless of the cause, it's usually the child that bears the brunt of the frustration and anger. Some fist fathers and tooth mothers have remorse. They will apologize later when they come to their senses. Others never feel that they're to blame for anything, at least not that they would admit to anyone. They don't know how to handle stress. They can't control their emotions. Their anger and the fear they instill in others makes them feel powerful. Of course, we could never treat another adult like this, but a child has little recourse. Adults who have experienced this type of abuse become fearful. They never knew when these abusive caregivers would be triggered and fly off the handle. In the back of their mind, they're just waiting for someone to throw a temper tantrum. They often walk on eggshells, being afraid to say or do the wrong thing. They don't want to set anyone off. Some will even talk so quietly that you can barely hear them. They don't want to disturb others or say the wrong thing. Living our life in fear is miserable, but they don't know any other way. This is how they were raised, and they really can't trust anyone not to go berserk at the drop of a hat. It takes years of hard work to recover from this type of abuse. Ironically, the abuse often repeats itself. Abusers are naturally drawn to someone who's fearful. They know they will be easy to control, and this is usually a subconscious thing, but not always. What I am about to say may offend some people, but here it goes. Patriarchal religions that believe men should be the head of the household and everyone else should bow down to their will are a breeding ground for this type of toxic family dynamic. The man has been told he's in charge. If his words are questioned, he's offended. It's a direct violation of God's will. He's been told if he spares the rod, he will spoil the child. So he has permission from God to physically abuse his children. This teaches the children that it's okay to judge when someone has behaved badly, and it's also permissible to resort to violence as a result. They're taught the victim is responsible for their own abuse. He's also been told his wife is an extension of his body, made from his rib, so she is to do as he says. If she disagrees, it's not a big mental stretch to think that he has God's permission to strike her as well. Have you ever heard of the rule of thumb? It came from a time when it was permissible for a man to strike his wife with a tree branch, as long as it wasn't any bigger around than the husband's thumb. Women and children who go to religious leaders may find comfort and compassion, or they may be told they should obey the man of the house, like God intended. Men who like to be in control of everything and everyone are naturally drawn to people that would reinforce these beliefs. If they can find an entire organized religion that backs them, all the better. Recovering from abuse like this often makes one question their religious upbringing and beliefs. Let's take a look at how beliefs are formed. Before we could put ideas into words, we understood symbols. Our mother symbolized comfort. She gave us food, kept us clean, and provided love. Our father gave us security and also fulfilled these needs. When we could form thoughts, we had thoughts of love when we thought about a caregiver that made us feel safe and comfortable. Thoughts form ideas. We may get the idea that our caregiver will always be loving and kind. They will always be there for us. This develops into an image. We may get a picture of a happy family in our mind's eye, one that's supportive of all its members and lovingly corrects them when they make mistakes. In the North, the place of wisdom, we come to opinions. At this point, we may form the opinion that all families are like this, that every family looks like yours. Being raised by my grandmother, I was surprised to learn that other families had a mother and a father. Just like me, children go out into the world and are exposed to other families, other ways of doing things, other structures, and belief systems. We may decide one is better than the other, or even that one is right and the other is wrong. It's at this point that we have formed a belief. No one wants to be the only person in the world to believe something, so we seek out others that share our beliefs. If we find a belief system that agrees with us, we feel secure in our decisions that we're right and others are wrong. We have validated our beliefs. This culminates in a philosophy or religion. When someone has the backing of an entire religion, they feel empowered. They are justified in their actions. This is why abusers feel they have a right to do the things they do. In the Bible, Lot had sex with his 2 daughters. He claimed they got him drunk and forced themselves on him. He was never punished for raping them. No one ever questioned why 2 lovely women would want to have sex with an old man who was supposed to be a loving father. Anyone who is paying attention to the news today knows there are millions of fathers and stepfathers who have sexually abused their young daughters. It happens all the time. But have you really ever heard of a woman wanting to have sex with her father when she could have a handsome young man instead? How many times have you heard about a pastor, youth leader, priest, teacher, coach, or other adult having sex with someone underage? It happens so frequently that Dateline even did an entire series on catching predatory men. It ran for 3 seasons and was only canceled when one of the child molesters committed suicide. Obviously, a bunch of men got the idea they could get away with this. After all, in the Bible, Lot did. Society will blame the parent if the child is misbehaving. They will say they weren't raised right, or the parents must be bad people. This gives the parent even more incentive to correct their child at all costs, even if it means verbally chewing their head off or physically smacking the shit out of them. When the abused child grows up and wants to heal their painful past, they have a big problem. Do they abandon the religion or philosophy with which they were raised if it gives the abusive parent permission? To hold on to it would be to say their parents' behavior was acceptable. No one can make that decision for them. It's entirely up to them to take their power back and make their own decision. To heal from the abuse of a fist father or a tooth mother, we first have to be aware that the behavior was wrong. It's not that we were really bad kids. Secondly, we have to erase the bad things we hear in our head. It's very common to repeat what we heard as children to ourselves when we feel we have fallen short. The things our abusive parents said have now become our fear feeder voices. They are born of fear, and they feed on our fear. They create fear in order to sustain their existence. The more we listen to them, the more powerful they become. We must confront them. Tell them they're wrong. We're doing the best we can, and we don't deserve to hear nasty things. We deserve love, patience, kindness, and compassion. It takes a lot of time and work to heal from this kind of childhood, sometimes our entire life. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to learn more about the medicine wheel teachings and native strength, please subscribe to my channel.